Hello and welcome to the WOW Forum podcast. I am your host today, Brittany Hamner, and I'm super excited to be here with my co-creators of the Wisdom of Woodlawn Forum. And so we're going to have a lot of cool conversations about what we were thinking when we created this, because it really started as a pilot and an experiment, and we have a long running history. And so we're just going to start with the intro of how we all met and what did it look like for us to kind of co-create this.
Well, my name is Amyah, right? And I first met Ms. Hamner during a peace conference in 2023. I wasn't a part of her class when she taught at Woodlawn, but I met her after I sold a piece of artwork. And after that, I joined this group, and I've loved it so far.
My name is Jacques. So Miss Hamner started as my English teacher, and then she was my psychology teacher, and that's how we met. I also got to help her with the Woodlawn Peace Conference, and that was really fun. And after that, we just kind of found out that we worked well together, and she kept having really good ideas. So that's how I ended up in this program, and so far it's been really fun, very educational.
Yes. So when I say co-create, it literally started, I started back at Woodlawn High School in 2022 and never had taught high school before. And so Jacques was one of my first students that I ever had in the classroom. And from that experience, we were able to create the psychology class because we had so many great impactful conversations throughout our time in English, and that allowed for us to create the first peace event, the Woodlawn International Day of Peace. So we're going to talk a little bit about that because this is where Amyah and us have finally connected. And so I remember seeing you in the hall when you started to come, and I didn't get to teach you, but I always thought, oh my goodness, I wonder who that is. So I think it's so cool to reflect and know that you got to actually contribute without knowing where we'd be in 2025. So let's talk a little bit about the peace event, because that kind of gave us a spark into the community and what it looks like to co-create together. So that was our first big project. So do you want to talk a little bit, Doc, about the peace event, and then Amyah, you can add your piece of art that you had at the event?
Yeah, so the Woodlawn Peace Conference, we set it to be on the International Day of Peace. So we wanted to be able to bring in an audience and have like a productive data-backed dialogue about conflict, like specifically in Woodlawn High School, but also what we could learn from Woodlawn High School and relate that to the community. So we did a presentation with a student panel that I got to be on, where we talked about data we had gotten from a survey by surveying something like 60 or 80 students, and got a lot of good data about why people were getting into fights or how the school environment made them feel, to get into more of a, like, have a non-judgmental perspective about conflict or people who are participating in conflict. So I think a lot of people found it really interesting.
Yeah, and to add to that, we actually got over 150 surveys from when some of the guys who were a little more rowdy or more social in the class were actually able to do the survey, and they literally got over 150. So it was like a pretty good, population to pull that data from. Mm-hmm. And I know that when we were looking for a venue, we were kind of discussing, like, where should we have it? And you guys were really interested in going off campus, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's not that many opportunities. And so we had it at the Woodlawn Theater. And I think that the art was a really cool, impactful way that we got to represent peace. And you also, Jacques, had your own piece that you represented there. Mm-hmm. And then Amyah, I think you heard about it maybe in art or maybe through Jacques. So can you talk about your piece or how you felt being able to, I guess, embody what you think peace represents to you?
So I first heard about the conference through my art teacher, Miss Momini, and she urged me to create a piece that I didn't want to do. So my piece was a lakeside with trees in the background, and I was able to embody peace through the serenity of the world. Sometimes I can't find within myself, so I have to look elsewhere. But the conference I enjoyed because I got to see how other students saw peace, and just how we could bring the Woodlawn community together, because that's how I really met both of y'all. if we're being honest. So,
Really? Also, that was the first time you had met Jacques, too?
well, I met him in my art class, but that was probably the first times I heard him speak.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Wow, awesome. I remember seeing your piece and being so moved because it really was so serene and peaceful. So you did a really great job. And I think that was the first time that I got to see an idea come to life from scratch. From, hey, let's do something cool, to we had a full-fledged, very successful event. The art actually got sold, and you guys were able to get a little monetary, I guess, make y'all, for some of y'all, the first time you were able to sell your work and monetize that. So I thought that that was a really cool part of the event as well. So let's kind of pivot a little bit and start talking about how we got into the WOW Forum. So I think that once we were able to have that peace event, it really left me thinking, like, what else can we do, and what's the gap between the community and the high school? Because Woodlawn High School is right in the middle, right, of the community, but yet most students had never gone to the theater before, had never gone to a lot of the beautiful spaces. And so I started to get very curious about the disconnect between the community and the school. So can you guys say whether or not y'all had visited a lot of places around the school or around the community before the WOW?
Not really. Maybe a few, maybe like 15%, 25%. I mean, my grandmother is the chair director for 55th Place Thrift Store, so I'd been around here. I only live like 30 seconds away. But as far as knowing a lot of the businesses here and like what they're doing, like Rev is right here and Polaris, it's just not something that's really discussed.
And I moved here from 280. So as soon as I came into the Woodlawn area, I didn't explore. So I didn't know any of the businesses until WOW.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting too, because you can see when school is dismissed, people go straight from the school to basically the gas station, right? They don't go to Voltron, they don't go to the different venues and beautiful spaces that we have. And so that was a big part of the program. So I came to you guys basically one day. We had a lot of discussions leading up last summer about what it looked like to have a successful program. And we've done a lot together since then. But when I first came to you guys and said, hey, I have this idea to maybe do some stuff and community partnerships and, maybe have y'all's voices be heard in a new way, what were y'all thinking? And did y'all have any, thoughts about what it might look like? Was this like another extracurricular? What was that?
I thought it might have been like an extracurricular. I didn't know it would become as big as it is to me today, which is good no, I actually heard from it through Jacques because y'all were looking for more people. And when I came to Voltron that first day, I knew I was going to stay.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
Yes, you literally were able to show up to that first, and you just like jumped straight into the program. So that's awesome.
I feel like I just knew it was a good idea by the way you explained it. I mean, I knew you wouldn't have gone for it if you didn't think it was a good idea. But I saw the disconnect too, and I realized that somebody was going to have to address that need. So why not it be us?
Absolutely. So we've done a few workshops with different community members. We've done printing. We've done yoga. We've done tea making workshops. Can you guys tell me one of the partnerships that we've had that you've really enjoyed, or a piece of the program that you feel like has been impactful or meaningful?
I really enjoyed Voltron. I'm a very technical person, so to learn go into technical detail about screen printing, that was really fun. But also just, I think a key part of all of it that I've enjoyed is just seeing that there are really passionate people here. So people, with the skincare workshop that we did, someone who was in the Air Force and became passionate as a chemist about skincare, that was cool to see. Or people recognizing the need for people to exercise and to stretch, like yoga. Just because I think the thing that underlies the passion is hope, and that's just good to see here.
For me, my favorite was the UGIT partnership as Jacques said, the chemist becoming passionate about what she did and finding her own way to work around her passions was really inspiring. I also enjoyed Voltron, the technical aspect, and just learning what goes into printmaking because I had no idea was really nice.
Yeah, and I had no idea myself either, and it was so cool to literally go into a business and say, "Hey, I have a group of students. I want to connect the school to the community. What sort of experience can you create?" And so these partners that we have been able to give us unique experiences. Can you see any partnerships or any abilities for future creative endeavors for the WOW?
Like businesses we haven't connected yet.
Or different workshops. Like we did Voltron and y'all got to do screen printing. Could you see doing an intensive version of that again, or maybe something
absolutely.
similar?
Absolutely.
If we had more time, I think that would have been really cool.
Mm.
And getting more people from Woodlawn to know about it, I think a lot of people would come in for that.
Mm. Also, the hair salon around the corner by 55th Place, that's one place we haven't connected with. And the owner of Detrespa, she's to an extent a fashion curator. And that's things people are very interested in at school. So I think there is a surprising amount of like passion that hasn't been tapped into or recognized by the other students at Woodlawn.
Yeah, and I think that when I was creating this, a lot of people are like, "Oh, there's so many cool things happening in Birmingham," right? Like we do have a lot of great things happening, but the real, I think, thing we were able to create is what can you access through your own backyard, like where your feet are at, where you can walk to, what sort of activities, what sort of connections haven't been launched. So Modern Beauty just opened. I'd love to partner with them. Detrespa, we will have Leroy's coming on to our podcast, so that's going to be awesome too. So we're bridging the gap. So one thing that I think you guys can speak to is sometimes when we're in school, or at least as a teacher, it feels like it can be heavy, and sometimes it feels like people aren't being heard. So has there ever been a time as a student that you felt unheard, or are there, do you think students who don't feel like they've been able to tap into their own voice in the way that we've been able to create?
I've been told, like, it doesn't matter what you think, I'm an adult. Like, that's the opposite of being heard or listened to. And like, I understand having respect for teachers. I have respect for adults. People do know more than me. Like, I don't have an English degree. But that's not how you get respect. Like, that's how you rule through fear. That's not how you make someone passionate about the subject that you're teaching. So a lot of moments like that, like, I'm okay if you genuinely listen to my idea and disagree with it. That's why you're a person in authority. Like, I'm okay with having a power structure. But I feel like a lot of times youth is dismissed before they're really listened to. And I think a lot of teachers or administration could do a better job of, even if you think the kid's idea is dumb, which it very well could be dumb. It could be a bad idea, but like, listen to it, reiterate to it, make them feel heard, and then explain why it wouldn't work. And if they still disagree, that's okay. At least you listened. But, you know, just giving them the time of day. Because I promise you, kids will come to your class more. Kids will turn in more homework if you do that. If you build a real relationship, it will make your job easier.
I absolutely agree. And I can attest to that as a teacher, a young teacher. It was my first time teaching high school, going to Woodlawn. And you're exactly right. If you build the culture and climate in your classroom and the relationships, you can have success and you can be able to create more together. Because I feel like that's what we've been able to do. So you're kind of touching on this, Amyah. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you feel like adults don't understand about youth? And specifically when it comes to our community and the culture that we have within Woodlawn, what do you think adults don't understand?
This might seem kind of old-fashioned, but how our struggles aren't the same as their struggles. So it's related to not being enough. Really just being undermined. Our youth feel like they're defeated before they even start by their own peers, like people who are in their community. So more understanding, and y'all said it better than I could. I agree with everything both of you guys said. Just more understanding and giving them the time of day and actually putting the effort and investing in the people or your youth.
Thank you. That's beautiful. So I think that we've been able to get into a lot of different industries. We've looked at health and wellness and done practices. We've looked into business and economy, art and culture. You guys are also multifaceted. Y'all have multiple skill sets. And so what do you hope to build one day? Or do you have any thoughts on how, what you will be up to or hope to lead in the future?
I'd like to start a school. Me and my best friend Leo have talked a lot about education, mostly from having suboptimal learning environments. And obviously it'd be a really big project, but I'd like to open a school eventually and have like completely different teaching methods, completely different authority structure. Like I could talk about that for an entire hour.
Yeah.
But that's I want to help in a lot of ways, but obviously I have to narrow in on something that I have experience with. And I've just spent so much time thinking about education. I think that's something I could do well.
Yeah.
Sorry. I want to be an architect, but I want to be able to buy the projects or houses that are like just abandoned and like revamp them and be able to not give them, but like have people have access to homes and stuff like that. I also want to start a farm, so I want to be able to give people fresh food and good food, something that's not fake. But
yeah, that's beautiful. That also made me think about how we have Jones Valley, right? And we have great partners like Woodlawn United, and there's several projects. But that's one thing that I feel like isn't being maybe established, is that bridge between young adults like you should be able to step into these different opportunities to give back to your own community and like work on these and build up from those experiences. So as you're saying that, this is a call to action to all the businesses and partners, especially within our community, to give youth chances. Because don't you think that sometimes a part of the problem in education is students don't feel like they're learning anything directly? Like, okay, I don't really care about math within the way that you've just handed me, this list of problems. But if you gave them a complex problem to solve that involved a category of math, maybe they would think about it differently. So what do you think about, I guess, reimagining learning? And Jacques, you kind of talked about how this is a part of what you want to do in the future. So what do y'all think about reimagining learning and education?
I genuinely think that most people know that the way we're doing education now is not like as efficient as it could be. I think like the teachers, the administration, like everyone agrees that this is not the way that it should be, because I think kids are able to recognize what they're interested in by like 10th grade. And like obviously that can change, but generally like by 10th grade if you're like a math person or not. Like, and if you're not a math person, you're not going to be a mechanical engineer or computer scientist. So I feel like we should allow people to specialize more instead of forcing them into those opportunities. But also I think teachers should recognize that they have an extremely challenging job to make something that is not inherently entertaining, but they should view it not just, am I good at this subject as a person? Like, is the teacher good at math? But are you good at forming relationships, and are you good at advertising? Because a good teacher advertises. They advertise the subject. It's like a company needs you to buy a product. They need the person to desire it. So figuring out ways for teachers to make a subject desirable, why someone would want to know it, I feel like that's more important than even being competent at the subject.
Absolutely. It's almost at time, so we're going to wrap up. Our time has went by fast, so I want to say thank you for being able to share this space and time today. Are there any last words of wisdom that you would like to give out for our viewers? Any last remarks?
I don't know. Love people. Love people. Love people that you disagree with.
Love when it's hard to love.
Yeah, love when it's hard to love. Because the people that are being mean to you are the people that need it most.
Right.
And if we push them away, they will do bad things. Being alone is the environment that breeds like extremism and stuff like that. So I think that's important. We got political at the last second, but it's true.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, exactly. It takes a community. It takes people coming together to solve complex problems. So thank you guys.
And I don't mean like people. I don't like everyone that I love. There's a difference. I don't like that many people, but I love everyone.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, thank you guys for coming on, and we have a lot more work to do together. And so I appreciate you, and thanks again.